Hey, it's Naomi. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going over the books that I read in May and June, so a May and June reading wrap-up. This is not all of them, but most of them. And first I wanted to start with the books that I reread. I know I mentioned earlier on in the year that I wanted to try and get to some rereads this year, just for nostalgia's sake, because it's fun, because I typically don't make time to reread and really indulge and enjoy books that I know that I wanted to read again. The first one is The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. I made a video mentioning that there was a worldwide read-along going on for this. I think that's still happening, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I read this one in June and loved it just as much, if not more, than the first time I read it. I rarely reread books, so it was so nice to revisit this world again so many years later. I originally read this a really long time ago, at least 15 years ago, I think. So this was, yeah, I love it even more now that I've reread it as an adult. Another classic I reread, it was the 20th anniversary for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, if you can believe it, I think a week or so ago. And in honor of that, I wanted to reread one of my faves of all time, and I decided to do the reread in the illustrated edition. I actually don't think I had reread in this edition, so it was really enjoyable, and I think I'm just going to continue rereading in the illustrated editions, although they're only coming out once a year. But the second one is out, and the third one is coming out this October, so I'll have three. And then I might have to just continue rereading in the regular books that I have, because I'm not going to want to wait. I'm really enjoying rereading these, and I know some people reread Harry Potter, like the whole series, like once a year, every year, or even more often than that. I remember I had a roommate in college, and this was, more than 10 years ago, and she, they weren't even all out back then, but she was already rereading them like every year, which is fantastic. That's great. I haven't had time because there's so many other books that I've wanted to get to. But this year is my year to reread the Harry Potter series. This will be my probably just second or third time rereading the entire series consecutively. So yeah, really love this, and obviously if you guys haven't gotten your hands on one of these, the illustrated editions, then I would highly recommend it. I mean, it's, let me see if I can find a couple of my favorite illustrations for you. Oh yeah, this is a great one. This kind of reminds me of Hobbiton too. This is Hagrid's little hovel. And these illustrations by, was it Jim Kay? Yeah, by Jim Kay. They're so fantastic, and it's so nice to reread one of my favorite stories and then also sort of just pause on each page that there's an illustration to soak in the beautiful artwork. Now, I don't remember if I had talked about this. I know I hauled this. I don't know if I've actually included this in a wrap-up video or like done a mini review or anything, but this is one of my favorite reads so far of the year, Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Not only because of the gorgeous moth cover, but just because of the story itself. It was beautiful writing and very strange, just like the title says, but this book made me cry. I feel like I don't actually, even though I'm a very emotional, empathic person, I don't cry very often when I'm reading, but this one and only a few others this year so far have actually brought out that reaction in me. But this one was just very, I can't wait until the next one. The edges are blue, which I think more books should, of course then it wouldn't be that special if they were all doing that, but I just really love how special this book is in every way, not just the story itself. And I'm not really talking too much about it because I don't want to give any spoilers if you haven't read it, but it is about this orphan who, I'm going to be very vague, this orphan who ends up working in a giant library his whole life when once he becomes an adult, and he studies this ancient long lost city, the mythic lost city of Weep. And some people don't even think that it really exists, but he's always just been fascinated. It's basically his, life's work, researching it in his spare time. And one day this train of people comes into town from Weep, and he ends up going with them, leaving with them, and embarking on an incredible journey And I'm not going to say anything other than that because it's so amazing. This is a book that you should just go into blind, in my opinion. And I did, and yeah, there's so many beautiful lines in this. This is going to be one that I will definitely reread before the next one comes out in anticipation of it, hopefully next year. Flame in the Mist was the featured book in the May Unicorn Crate, the first unicorn crate that I ever designed, and this is just a gorgeous story. It is a Mulan retelling, loosely retold by Renee, Ahdieh, and look at this cover. I love this, and the deckled edges, and this is a beautiful piece of writing too, and I believe this is the first in a series, and I'm definitely looking forward to the ones that follow. This is what I would consider to be an empowering love story, but also just so much more than a love story. It's not just that at all. This is about a young woman learning to be true to herself and being empowered and learning her own strengths, you know, really learning who she is as an individual. And I just love stories like that. Yeah, I would highly recommend. It's a YA fantasy, and I absolutely loved it. Another from the Unicorn Crates. Of course, I read these many months ago, I think before. This is a, you know, May and June wrap up, but I read these before then, but I can finally talk about them now because they're out, they're released, and the Unicorn Crates have been released, and it's not a secret anymore. So Roar was from the June Unicorn Crate, and this actually just came out a couple weeks ago in June. So another wonderful read. This is a young adult fantasy about a young girl named Aurora, Roar for short. She is born into a royal family. She's supposed to basically inherit the kingdom, but she doesn't have the storm magic that everyone else does in order to protect her kingdom. Her mom's kind of like wanting her to marry this other guy that has storm magic, but she discovers that she can actually perhaps steal storm magic when she stumbles upon these sellers in the black market when she's escaping her arranged marriage, and she goes on this journey, and this storm magic that is in the whole magic system that is described in this book, I fell in love with it. It's amazing, it's so cool, and the romance is fiery in this book. I think that I would definitely consider this like a romance fantasy or a fantasy romance. Like, I would put that in the genre description. And where it leaves off, I was just like, oh, come on, I can't wait a whole year or more for the next one. Hopefully it's only 1 year. But yeah, definitely pick this one up if you haven't already. I have a couple of arcs here. This one, which I think I can share now, yeah, this came out in July. Gorgeous cover on this one. The Library of Fates by Aditi Khorana. I absolutely loved the gorgeous imagery all throughout this book. That is what kept me hooked the whole time. I also really loved the story overall as a whole, but I felt like there were parts, especially more and more towards the end, where it felt a little bit underdeveloped. So I only gave this, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars, because I just felt like there was, I don't know if the editors cut too much or if it just needed more, but I know that can sometimes happen, but I just personally felt like I wanted some gaps to be filled in this book. It's definitely worth a read. I would recommend reading it, but I, you know, critically speaking, would personally have developed more, especially in the second half of the book. Definitely a magical, mystical, very visually pleasing book, and I don't just mean the cover, I mean, like, you know, when you're in the world reading this, it is kind of a wonder to look around, have a look around inside this world. So I would love to read more from this author, and yeah, hopefully I will. I don't know if I'm supposed to be sharing this one yet. This is an arc, but I think this one comes out in August. I'll just mention it really quick then. Shimmer and Burn. Really liked this one. This was a young adult fantasy, again, which is most of what I read. This is kind of a book about like stowaways and runaways, I guess you could say, and a story of the underdog, and I really loved the characters in this book, and also a fantastic start to a new series. And this is sort of a world in which destruction is reigning, and they're trying to figure out a way to survive. Warring of kingdoms, a kingdom that, no, I'm gonna give too much away. I'm not gonna say anything else about this book. But yes, I really liked it. I think I gave this one Let me see my notes. I've been writing down little notes about all the books I read so I can keep track. This one I gave 4 stars. Oh yeah, I really like the character North in this book, a handsome traveling magician. He becomes a key character, and yes, that's all I'll say about that book. Alright guys, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed sort of a reading wrap-up, mini reviews. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already so you can see future videos about books and occasionally beauty, and let me know what you have read recently in the comments below. I would love to know. There are also several other books that I read in the months of May and June, but I can't share them yet because they're books that aren't coming out for several months yet, things like that. Also, let me know, you guys, what books you are excited for that are coming out soon. Like, what new releases are you really excited for the remainder of this year? I would love to hear that in the comments below too. Alright, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all in another video very soon. Bye!